Hey, Queen. Are you wondering what the most important part of the sales process is? The answer actually might surprise you. Most individuals have an aversion to sales. They are terrified of sales and they want a simple process to follow. But when they think about sales and why they're terrified, most often people have an aversion to sales because it feels like something inauthentic. They feel like they have to be other than themselves to be effective in sales, which is totally wrong. Sales is really just a process of discovering. You're working with another human being to see what their needs are, you're discovering if you can meet those needs, and then you're presenting a solution. So in this video, I'm gonna share with you what is the most important part of the sales process and why this actually is great news for you, because it means that you get to leverage your natural skill set. Okay, let's jump into it. First and foremost, let's just talk about why sales is important. Let's just take it to business 101. Sales is the engine. It's the driver of your business. It's what separates a business from a hobby. Without any sales, we don't have any business. But oftentimes it can feel like a necessary evil for some. When we think about mastering the sales process, it gives you just the confidence of knowing that if I replicate this system, if I follow this system, that then I can replicate and create predictable revenue for my business. It's the building block of your business. Peter Drucker says the purpose of business is to create a customer, and sales is what creates that customer. And when we look at what the sales process is, like if we break it down to bare bones, there is first and foremost, the discovery process, that initial conversation that you have with someone. And then after you have that initial conversation, you go into proposing or presenting your solution. And then it's about closing that client. So let's break those steps down. When we look at the discovery process is a conversation. Conversations create cash, or conversations create clients, if you will. And during this discovery process, how you should approach it is, this is the work that I do, and what are your needs? And in that discovery process, you should be really exploring what is the status quo of your buyer right now, and what are their desired outcomes. And when we think of the discovery process, I think of it as dating, right? So it's like that first date to see, how does this person show up? What are their needs? And are we a good fit? And when you approach the discovery process, one thing that I think just helps me breathe easier as a salesperson is I am not attached to an outcome during discovery. Like when I show up to a discovery conversation, I'm really just exploring. I'm surrendering to the conversation and I'm seeing where it takes me. So I'm a bit more fluid. And I think energetically, that's the best way to approach it, which can be really overwhelming for people. So whatever that is for you, like whatever you need to do to set your energy before the discovery process, make sure that you do that, right? So if I'm prospecting, I'm getting ready to do lead generation and pound the phones, as some people call it, I have a Rick Ross hip hop trap music mentality, right? I'm high pressure energy. That is not the energy before a discovery call. Before a discovery call, I'm a smooth jazz, candles lit, very just calm. I'm zen because I just want to hear what this person is saying. It's all about active listening, right? And then as you're listening and you're having this exploratory conversation and this first date, if you will, what you're trying to identify is that, am I the person for them? Can I help them create the outcomes that they desire? And what does that look like? And then there's this co-creation that happens where you start to design the offer with the client and get their buy-in and get their agreement. Then from there, the next step is the proposal call, right? The presentation call. And so now you take the information that you've garnered from the discovery process and you put your head down, you think about what the next steps are. And then in the proposal part of the sales process, you're then revealing to the client, here's what I propose, and here's what the investment looks like for me to do this work. That process, again, is really about active listening. When you present your solutions, you really want to get your buyers, feedback on that. You still want to be open to customizing and tailoring those solutions based off of what their needs are and what they're looking for. And then after that, then we move into the close. That's contracts, terms and conditions, legal jargon, redlining, all of that to get the deal across the finish line. So going back to the theme of this video, which part is the most important part? What do you think? It is the discovery process. That is where the business is sold. When I'm working with my clients, if they go to a proposal call and they are not 100% clear that what they're going to propose is going to be something that that buyer loves, then they need to go back to the discovery process. When you go to the proposal part of the sales process, the only surprise for your potential buyer should be the investment and the terms and conditions. They should come to that and feel like, oh, that's what we talked about in discovery. She pulled what I was looking for from the discovery process and packaged it up with an investment on it, right? The discovery process, when we think about how buyers make buying decisions, human beings, regardless of their title, regardless of how large or how small the organization is that they work with, human beings make emotional buying decisions that they justify with logic. So knowing that human beings make emotional buying decisions that they then justify with logic or rationale, we want to make sure that during this discovery process that we are engaging their emotions and getting that emotional buy-in. So I think we're all grown, right? Hopefully, watching this video. So let's talk about how to create that emotional reaction. Studies find that when someone starts to talk about themselves, there's a chemical reaction that happens in the body that's similar to a climax, similar to an orgasm. And it's like, ooh, I don't know what's going on, but I kind of like this person, right? And basically all that we're doing is that we're posing questions to that individual and getting them to open up and talk about themselves. And so during the discovery process, you're posing open-ended questions and you're getting the buyer, the prospective buyer, to open up, which is then triggering that chemical reaction in their body, which is like, I don't know what it is, but there's something special about this human being. The secret, you're just getting them to talk about themselves. Now, the other part, when we talk about the emotional reaction and then rationale or logic, is that we find that human beings judge the intellect of others by the quality of questions that they ask. So not only are you triggering this emotional response by getting them to talk about themselves, but then the quality of your open-ended questions during the discovery process then has them saying, wow, this person's really sharp. They must have done this before. And so it's the perfect marriage that gets that emotional buy-in as well as the logical buy-in during the discovery process. So for pointers for that discovery process, make sure that you come to a discovery conversation with quality open-ended questions where you're co-designing the solution with your potential buyer. I have so many clients who, before working with me, just had a lot of anxiety about sales, right? Just like, oh my gosh, I feel like I have to, just muscle someone into a buying decision, and that doesn't feel authentic. How can I find a way to sell which feels good for me and creates a win-win for the buyer? And so many of them say that, oh my gosh, I thought that all the pressure was on the close and the proposal, and I'm realizing that I'm winning the business and the discovery process. And that's how your sales process should feel. Once you finish the discovery process with potential buyers, you should feel like the business is mine to lose at this point. Like, this buyer has opened up. And here's another thing, when we talk about sales, when you have an emotional connection with someone and you feel like they understand you better than most, and when you've gone through this really just expansive, comprehensive process of explaining your status quo, explaining what you've tried before, explaining your budget, explaining what your desires and needs are, you don't really want to repeat that with a lot of people. And so when you do discovery well, it just creates this competitive advantage, which is why I say it is the most important part of the sales process. But I want to hear from you in the comments. How do you feel about approaching the discovery process? Do you have open-ended questions that are your go-to? Have you experienced just that perfect first date with a potential buyer that you just knew this is going to turn into a mutual partnership because of how well our conversations went in discovery? If you're looking for more strategies to help you land 5- and 6-figure corporate clients, you can sign up for our masterclass training at thebigmoneymovement.com. Or if you're looking for scripts to help you in the sales process, if you're listening to this and you're like, Liz, I appreciate these strategies. I need more language to help me in the process. Go to corporateclientscripts.com and you can download 3 of our proven scripts to attract those executive buyers for discovery meetings. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell so that you're notified when our latest content comes out. Also, if you want me to dissect any part of your sales process or business, comment below and I'm happy to help. Now that you know what the most important part of the sales process is, I have another video for you which outlines the 5 steps in the sales process. I'm LizJSimpson from the Big Money Movement. Let's continue to make big money moves together. I'll see you in the next video. You see that video, go ahead and click it.